What's up, guys? I'm really sorry about the delay today. Can everybody hear me? You're gonna have to type it in. You guys can hear me? Sweet. Let's give it a few minutes for everybody to show up. I will be recording this in case those people can't. Sweet. So I did have a question from one of the members earlier. She did say that she was kind of having issues that when she was in a good call, she was unable to essentially stay in the trade with us. So I do want to kind of give you guys some advice when it comes to holding your trades and being able to hold with us. At the end of the day, we do our best to guide you guys, but I know that sometimes your emotions can take over and you can make decisions, without our instructions. So the thing about it is when it comes to trading is that emotions come into play, right? At the end of the day, it's because your money's on the line. If your money wasn't on the line, you wouldn't be having those emotions. But because it is on the line, that's where, things get complicated. But when it comes to you getting into trade and not being able to hold, that's simply just a reaction that you're having um, based on your specific reaction to the fight or flight. So it's the way that you essentially react when your body or your mind senses a threat, right? And it's in our natural it's just naturally instilled into us for us to want to pull away or to withdraw from something that we feel threatened by. So a lot of the times, right, when your money's on the line, you're going to exit a trade at maybe 5% because you don't want to lose money. And so what happens is your fight or flight essentially takes over at this point and causes you to react without you even thinking about it. And so what I can compare this to, guys, is for example, when you lose, no, not when you lose, let's go and kind of compare this to a real life situation. If you get burned, right, guys, if you put your hand on the stove, do you have to think about your hand burning? You don't, right? Your hand will automatically get pulled off of the stove. Your body will literally move on its own without you telling it to, purely based off reaction, right? Because the fight or flight takes over and essentially you're pulling away and withdrawing that could essentially hurt you, right? But when it comes to trading, it doesn't benefit us, right? In life, that fight or flight may benefit us, right? When it comes to um, real life threats, right? Whenever if there's like a shooting, right, you're gonna essentially run away, right, to protect yourself. But when it comes to trading, that type of reaction is something that you're going to have to unlearn and teach yourself how to hold something. Um, and there's two ways to go about it, right? I would say one, it's going to be sizing down so you don't get as emotional because there's not as much money on the line. And then the other thing is going to be you essentially working through that, anxiety and emotion and pushing past that. And the simplest way to push past that, guys, is going to be breathing. I know it sounds very, very mundane, but it's true, right? Because what's happening is that your body is automatically reacting to you possibly losing money. And let's be real, losing a lot of money is just as big as a big of a threat as, let's just say, getting beat up, right? Or being chased by an animal, a wild animal, right? And so You have to be able to calm your body down when you're sensing the threat or that your body's sensing the threat. And so what I recommend to you guys is to learn how to breathe. I can guarantee that most of us as beginner traders, when you get into a trade, that we hold our breath, right? And so what you want to do is slow down your mind, slow down your heartbeat. And the simplest way to do that, guys, is by breathing, right? And so what I recommend is you get into a trade. The moment you feel something, the first step you're going to do is take your hand off the mouse. All right. Because what's going to happen is you're going to automatically want to press a button to sell and get out of your position and remove the threat that's in front of you. The threat that's in front of you is going to be losing money, right? And so what I recommend to the people that I mentor, I recommend that they essentially learn how to breathe and count to 10. And it's simple. It's literally as simple as that. I've taken a lot of people, or not taken a lot of people, but I've been able to help a lot of people hold to 20, 30, 40% simply by just breathing. And it's the only way that you're going to learn how to get through holding a trade. I'm not saying hold it on the losing side, but obviously if the trade's going on our favor, we want to be able to hold the trade to at least get to our profit targets, right? And so as a trader, guys, you really want to follow these simple steps. Step one, take your hand off the mouse, take your hand off the keyboard so you can't take that action, right? Your body can't react on its own. If you have to sit on your hands, right? So it can't react for you. And then the second thing is going to be just breathing and counting to 10. And there's going to be only two scenarios that could possibly come out of this, all right? We count to 10 and we get stopped out, or we count to 10 and the trade goes in our favor. All right. And mind you guys, obviously our trades are not just 10 seconds long. There's a chance that, the trades are usually about a minute to 10 minutes. So the way that you extend that time is you just repeat that same process, right? And I think as traders, we try to overcomplicate things and do too much instead of just taking that next step in front of us, right? We're so focused on we need to make money that we don't want to lose money, and so we react without actually getting to our profit targets or our goals. And so while you may only think, oh well, 10 seconds is not enough, you're right, but 10 seconds is manageable. It's very simple, and all you have to do is do it for 10 seconds. And when that 10 seconds ends and you want to cut your position, you're going to do the same thing all over again. You're going to put your hands on your, take your hands away from the keyboard, and you're just going to count another 10. And you're going to repeat this process, guys, over and over and over. And that's the only thing you need to do in order to hold your trades longer. All of us, when it comes to, our stop losses, we're good at, taking that minus 20% and exiting and, managing risk. But at the same time, if you can't make money on the other side, you won't be able to be profitable. And the reason being is that you're not making enough money to cover your losses and then some, right? And so this is my suggestion to you guys, to learn how, or not learn, but to implement these steps if you're having struggles or trouble holding a trade long enough for you to make some decent money out of it. At the end of the day, guys, you don't need to hold to 100%, right? But if you find out you're only taking 5-10% out of a trade, I would highly recommend that you work on these steps and teach yourself essentially how to extend that amount of time where you feel that anxiety and fear and be able to hold a trade to 20 to 40%. And when it comes to having one contract, guys, it's going to be a different world for you. Obviously, you only have one contract. You can't trim at 20%. So ideally, if you have one contract, what you want to do is not trim at 5 or 10, because that's not going to be enough if you're losing 20% in, with one contract. You want to essentially just set a break-even stop loss when everybody trims. Okay. And what that means is that when it gets back to zero after hitting 10% or 15%, you cut your position and move on when it comes back down to zero. All right. Other than that, with one contract, you want to take profits anywhere from 20% to 40%. But ideally, guys, I think in the beginning, if you guys can take 30% off your trades, that should be good enough, at least considering the fact that you only have one contract and you don't have the advantage of trimming and then being able to cut the rest of your position at break even to where that guy makes money and you hit zero, right? So any questions, guys, so far as the suggestions that I've given you? You're gonna have to type it so I can see, since all you guys are muted. Everybody's good? Sweet. So that was really the main thing I wanted to go over today. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask about different subjects and whatnot in regards to trade psychology, risk management, etc. Go ahead and ask. You guys can ask really any questions other than entries because I can't really explain anything here. Here, I give you guys permissions to unmute yourself if you'd like. Okay, so you guys can unmute yourself right now if you'd want to and ask the question. God, you had a question?
Hey, yeah, I just typed my question. So the whole thing you explained works great, and I've been trying that for quite some time. But the only challenge comes on Fridays, playing the same 0-day threads. When I try to tend to wait for a long time, but then the profitable trade within a matter of seconds goes to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I accidentally muted you. Can you unmute yourself again? Sorry, I apologize. It's my fault. God?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So yeah, you said you tend to hold a trade too long on Fridays?
Yeah, which because it's a 0-day trade, sometime it because of the volatility it quickly turn the table, and that's what I don't know what to do if I'm waiting too long or.
So that's the thing, is that you got to have profit targets, right? On Fridays, those contracts are going to move a lot more aggressively, right? On that same move as far as the stock on a Monday may only give you 10 to 20%. On Friday will give you 50 to 100%, right? And so you want to be able to have profit targets, because you got to understand, you don't need to make 100%, 200%, 300% to make money in this industry, right? We get really jaded with ourselves and think we have to make that much in order for us to actually become profitable, but that's not the case. If you guys notice, I rarely ever call 100% plays. I will be the first person to admit that, right? But what I am able to do is take profits before they reverse on me, even if it's only 10%, right? There's times, guys, where I take profits at 10% because it doesn't look good and it'll end up going 100, right? But that's the thing, is that we're not here to catch the full move. It's going to be impossible for you as a trader to try and catch, the bottom and sell it right at the top and do that consistently over and over and over again, right? So one thing that you can do, if you get to a number that you think is really good, but you want to see if it can go a little bit longer, set a trail stop. And what that's going to do is it's going to move your stop loss as the price goes up, but then once it pulls back, it's going to stop you out. So to give you an example, let's say we buy a contract $1, okay? Stock goes up, we're in calls, it goes to $1.20, so we're up 20%, right? At that point, if you feel good with that number,
people don't eat throughout the day and then just be.
I had to mute you, sorry. If you're good with that number, you can essentially take that, set a trail stop, let's just say for 20%, right? And so if the stock then goes to 40%, so it goes to $1.40, the trail stop will be moved to $1.20, right? And should the stock reverse on you, then it'll essentially stop you out at $1.20 and you'll essentially take 20% off the trade. So if you find yourself constantly turning profitable trades into losing trades, one, If you hit 20% or 15%, set a hard stop loss at your buying price, right? If it's at $1.20, set a stop loss for $1. So even if you do, if the trade does reverse, you can't lose money on it, right? You're trading protectively. And that's a suggestion or recommendation that I give to everybody in our chat, is to trade defensively, because at the end of the day, your only job is to protect your capital. Your job is not to make 1000% every single day and, you know, be this amazing trader that always takes the full move on every single trade. Because if you chase that, guys, you're gonna have a really difficult time being consistent, because like you're saying, right, you were aiming for 100% or whatever, and instead of just taking 40, you end up losing money on the trade because you're taking it too long, right? So what I highly suggest is that once it hits 20%, you set a hard stop loss at whatever price you bought it for with it. So what I mean by a hard stop loss, put a stop order in at your price. So if you paid $1, put a stop order in for $1. And that way, should it reverse, you're not going to lose $1 on it, right? At the end of the day, a break-even trade is going to be better than you losing money on something you could have made money on. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sweet. As far as trail stops though, ideally you don't want to do them till about 40%. Reason being is you don't, well, yeah, I would say 40%, but also too, if you're one of those people that just has a really hard time selling, once it hits 20%, just set the trail stop. If it wants to go up, it can go up. Once it hits 40, get the hell out. Right? I would say 40% is a really good metric or a really good area to take full profits every single time. And the reason I say that, guys, is because if you try to take more than that, there's a lot of times where you're going to give up 40% and it's going to go back to zero. And then you sit back and you're like, damn, I would have been really happy with 40%. Here I am with $0, or I lost money on this trade, right? That's like the most devastating feeling as a trader, knowing that you could have made money and instead you're losing money on something like that. Okay, as far as not 10%. If it's 10%, I'm not setting a break-even stop loss, because there's a lot of times it goes to 10%, it comes right back to zero and then goes to 20, right? And then it's going to be very frustrating for you to get stopped out and then take zero on a trade you could have made money on, right? And so you'd want to at least give yourself a chance for the trade to develop. And obviously we want to protect our capital, but you don't want to always just set a break-even stop loss. So that my recommendation, if it's 15 or 20%, then you have a break-even stop loss, right? Because then at that point, it's like more or less 1R or 1 risk to reward ratio. And what I mean by that, guys, is if I'm risking 20%, at least if I make 20% and then I lose the first trade at 20%, I'm break even, right? Versus if you lose 20% on the first trade and you only take 10% on the second trade, you're still down 10% for the day. When it comes to your trail stop, it really depends. Obviously, you know, there's a chance if the trail stop is too thin, and what I mean by that is if you have like a 5% trail stop, I mean, you guys got to understand that the options contract likes to jump around. So if it pulls back 5%, you get stopped out, right? And so that's why I say you want to do it you want to wait for it to hit about 30-40% before you actually trail it on your runners. But other than that, guys, trail stop is only really should be used for your runners. Ideally, you want to be able to sell your position at about 30-40%. Now, if the market was incredible and not going up and down $7 on SPY like it is now, you could actually hold if there was any continuation. But we haven't seen continuation really since I would say, you know, middle of last year. And so this is a market where you have to secure your profits very quickly and just move on, right? I don't care to take 100%, and I'm consistently profitable, and I don't have to worry about it because I just don't care. I know that there's a lot of traders who make a lot more money than me, but for me, guys, I have a mindset where $500 is really good money to me. Considering the fact that I got paid $250 for 8 hours of work, I mean, I will take $300 all day at this point, right? It doesn't really, like, that's a considerable amount to me, considering the fact that I trade for an hour a day at most. Let me go ahead and KB, go ahead and ask your question.
How's it going, Jsong?
What's up?
Just if you can speak on like execution. So I've been trading since like 2018, and I started out with shares, and I think I've been doing options for like a year now, and I just had to really learn how to play the option game because you got that theta really burn against you sometimes. So it's like, could you just speak on how you got good at execution? Because it's like sometimes when I mental trade and I just watch a chart and I'm like, all right, let's get in right there, and I watch and see how the contracts move. But it's like when I get in, it's like either I take quick profits the trade just go against me real quick. It's like that. Okay, he bought and then the red counter hit, so I'd be like, so I don't know. It just get frustrated sometimes.
Yeah, so one thing is well, the main thing obviously is going to be your entries, right? Your entries do have to be precise, right? If your entries are a little too late and it pulls back, you're going to get stopped out. And the guy who got in at the right time doesn't get stopped out, and then it goes into profit, right? So entries are important. But besides the entries, when it comes to execution and I guess knowing what to do in a trade, you have to have a trading plan. So most of us don't have a trading plan, right? And so what happens is you're just winging it. You're just winging it based on what you're feeling of your emotions, right? And you're essentially letting your emotions guide you to the actions that you're going to take. But if you have a trading plan, it has rules in there. It has specific concepts and situations that tell you exactly what to do when a trade gets to a certain point. And so in order to work on this type of thing where you want to learn how to navigate the trade when you're in the trade, you want to have if and then statements, right? And so to give you guys an example, if a stock does this, then I will do that, right? And that gives you a very specific scenario, and there's no guessing or there's no figuring it out or winging it at the time of the trade. So to clarify that last statement, let's just say that, okay, I get into a trade, it's at 10%. Okay, if it gets to 20%, I will trim a quarter, right? I'll trim half. If it gets to 30%, then I'll trim another half of whatever half I have left. So I essentially trimmed 75% of my position by then, right? And then with the runners, you could say, okay, if the runners go back from 20% and go to 10%, then I will cut my position in full, right? As far as theta, it's just a matter of being strategic with the contracts that you pick. And here's the thing, theta doesn't really bother us too much. And the reason being is that we're scalpers. We're in our trade for 1 to 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at most. So there's no pressure for us to really get theta burned on our trades. Now you hold 0 days for about 2 hours, you will get burned if there's no movement to the upside. Even in 30 minutes, you'll get burned on 0 days, right? But considering the fact that we're scalpers and most trades are about 1 minute to 10 minutes, theta is not too much of a concern for us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. And I only been in the group since like I got in like the end of December, so I'm really just trying to get a good feel and try to mirror you guys to a T, not to a T, but to some extent, just to add to my trading ability. So
Yeah.
and I still been trying to work on the strategy. I've noticed I've been cutting my losses better than I usually, because I used to let them get down to 80 to 70%, and I'd be like, well,
Yeah.
just it's gone against me. But
You
I
don't
used
want
to
to do that
try
because you're kind of committing to it, and then what happens is you're just hoping for it to come back, right?
and then I was trying to swing trade too at the same time. So if like my strategy was like if I was trying to, I know the RSI not a good, but if it's the daily RSI kind of gets on the soul, I try to come in on at least a good company like a FedEx or something like that, and I try to come in and get in, but it end up still going down on me, and then now it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's a couple things, right? Market sentiment hasn't been good recently, and the thing is that at you said you've been trading for 2 years, 3 years?
Since I started in 2018, so the
Okay.
market was going down like right now with interest rates going up, and I didn't understand all that at the time like I
Yeah.
do now.
Did
So
you
it
make
was like
some
now
did you make some good money in 2020?
I did, but I didn't. Like I started. That's when I started. I think I started trading options, and I was doing good. I got my account up, and then I hit a
Yeah.
downtrend, and I kept downtrending. Tesla
Yeah.
kind of took me out of the ball game. I was playing Tesla, and Tesla gave me PTSD now. So it's like
Yeah.
now it's
Well,
just like
that was the tough thing about last people who made money or started trading options in that time, because everything just kept going up and up and up, and all you had to do was just buy 2 weeks out and hold it long enough, and you would get saved every single time, right? But our trading here is really strategic. Like there's times we get stopped out. It sucks. And then it goes into profit. And we sit there upset because we're like, damn, if I just held it, we could have made money. Right. But that mentality will kill you, because if you hold it too long, you're going to end up losing minus 40, minus 60, minus 80. Right. And that's where you could have used that money and flipped it on something else, on a different option contract. Right. And so you want to get to a point where you have the right type of mentality and thought process and paradigm. Paradigm meaning it's the right way to explain it. It's a set of beliefs. So you want to have the right set of beliefs that cause you, because here's the thing. When it comes to us as human beings, we take actions based on our beliefs. Okay. Whatever you believe, you will act on that belief, right? Your reaction will be based on that belief. If you believe somebody's doing you wrong, you're gonna call that person out, or uh, you know, um, do what you have to do. If you believe that person wasn't doing you wrong, then you're never going to say nothing, because you're not viewing it as that person did you dirty, right? So the way you view the market is going to be really important as to the actions that you will take when you're in the trade, or you're looking for a trade, or you're trying to exit a trade, right? So for example, I the thing about trading, guys, is that we're like, it's it doesn't always go in your favor, right? And there's times where I get FOMO. It hits minus 22%, stops me out, and then goes 50%, right? But you got to understand something. That's not in my control. It is not in your control. It's not in God's control. It's in nobody's control, right? We don't have control over what's going to happen with the trade. The only thing we can do is be patient and wait for our entries to arrive, and then take it based on the entry system that we have. And then the other things that we can control is when we stop the position and when we take profits, right? And as traders, I think we spend so much time on the things that we can't control and don't focus on the things that we can. And that's kind of the problem when it comes to traders when they're first learning how to trade profitably. And so what I would really, really recommend, one, you have to really figure out your entry strategy and tighten it up and figure out what works for you. But here's the thing. Most people have the entry strategy. What they don't have is the psychology. They don't have good trading habits. They don't do the right things, right? So to piggyback on what you were saying, when you were saying, like, when you told me like you would lose 80%, you didn't kind of know, like you were just kind of hoping. Hopium and hope is probably the worst emotion that you can deal with as a trader, right? Because if you hope that something's going to come back, you're going to lose a lot of money, and you're going to lose more than you should you just had a 20% stop loss, right? And so this is something that you want to avoid as a trader, because a lot of us are hopeful. And here's the thing. We're human beings. We're meant to be hopeful, right? It's in our nature. But that, once again, that type of mentality is something that we have to essentially unlearn and then relearn the right thing. So you got to understand, this is a game of strategy, and this is a game of probabilities. This is not a game of who is the smartest guy and who can navigate the charts the best and who can buy the bottoms and sell at the top perfectly. That's not what this game is about. And that's the thing, is that's what most of us think it is, right? Oh, this guy bought the bottom, he sold right at the top. Well, there's also times where he buys the bottom and it continues to bottom out. He thinks it's the bottom, but it's not, right? And so that's why we have stop losses, because we're going to be wrong and we have to manage the risk to the downside, right? And that's the thing, is that we have to be able to control the things that we can, which are position sizing, right? Not over leveraging, right? Stopping out at 20%, even if it means that you'll get FOMO sometimes, right? Taking profits when you should at 40% instead of trying to get to 100, right? That's where you become greedy. And so all these things, guys, I have information about it in the chat. If you're wondering, profit targets, if and then statements, I have all those videos in our server. If you actually go to our, if you're new, start here channel, I have videos on position sizing and all that good stuff and profit targets, when to trim, all that. So if you guys have any questions on that, you know, I have videos already, but does that answer your question so far, KB?
Yeah, that was great. And a good example today, I had got in spy calls last night. I swung them because I felt like with the markets at a little, it held support. So I was like, I'll take the risk. In ours, I was kind of sold. So I was like, I'm gonna take it, but it pulled back. My contracts pulled back this morning, so I cut them at 20%, but they end up going up at the end of the day today. So it was like, oh well, but
Yeah,
I
it
still made
happens,
money
right?
today.
But
Yeah.
what you want to do is essentially just take that loss, and then all you do is just, when you find a new entry, get back in. So let me show you guys my screen. I want to show you guys my Apple trade. I actually took 2 Apple trades today. I lost the first one. It's okay. I only took -10, right? But let me show you guys what happened. Can we see my screen? You guys see my screen here? Someone's got to say something so I can confirm that.
Yes.
All right, sweet. And so I took an entry right here. I thought this was gonna pull back. I thought it was gonna bounce here, and I saw a lot of weakness. And so I got out of the trade. I got -10%. And yeah, it did come back eventually. But for me, guys, I just keep, I don't have no problem exiting a trade and finding the next one. And then what happened, right? This flag appeared, and I got right back in right here. And we took it for 40% right there. So that's the thing, is that people think that, oh, you have to hold it in case it comes back. But here's the thing, it's better for you to just lose 10% real quickly and then make back 20%, you'll be up 10%, right? But a lot of people don't want to do that because they're like, oh, but I just don't want, I'd rather just not lose 20% or 10%, right? I'd rather just take the play the way I want to, and I'll go about it that way. But here's the thing, guys. Once again, we're not here to be perfect in the markets and be right every single time. And now that I say that last sentence, that's something that you guys should all focus on as a trader. You're not in this game to be right. Okay, you're in this game to make money. All right, so that means that you're not going to be right sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you're making money, right, you're gonna be happy. Right? If you try to be right every single time in this game, there's going to be a lot of times where you refuse to close out a losing trade because you don't want to be wrong, right? And if you have a hard time, if you're a perfectionist, trading is going to be very, very difficult for you in the beginning until you figure that out for yourself. Because if you can't let go of being a perfectionist, you're going to just hold your trades in hopes that it comes back so you could prove to yourself, see, I told you I was right, right? And that's also the thing that's really tough as traders, is that in life, right, you have to be persistent and you have to hold on and you have to keep going and, you know, keep fighting for what you want. But when it comes to trading, guys, the longer you hold, the worse off you are. And the reason I say that is because usually the only time we really hold is to the downside, where things are going against us, right? We have really hard time holding when it's going in our favor to make money. So that's why I really, really recommend that just be quick to take your losses. And that brings me to another point. This is one of the most important lessons that I learned. Be quick to take your losses. All right. And what I mean by that is just cut them at 20%. Cut, if you see it's not going your way, cut them at 10. Right. Don't cut them at 10 just yet, because you guys are still in the process of learning everything and trying to figure out what is good tape and bad tape. But clearly here, guys, I could have held, but I probably would have got stopped out by that point. Right? Then I would have lost 20%. Instead, I just got out, right? And I waited for the next trade to take. And that's going to be one of the best things that you guys can learn as a trader, is to cut your positions, cut your losing positions quickly.
Focus, investigator, or digging deeper into this effort to ensure.
Does that make sense? KB, does that answer your question?
Yes, that perfectly answered. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you, is be quick to cut your losses. And the thing is, it sounds very ironic. You're thinking, oh, if I cut this, I'm going to lose more money. It's far from the truth. Okay. I found out that I started making way more money the faster I could cut at 20%. Because here's the thing about the stock market, there's always good opportunity. There's plenty of good opportunities. There's like 30 entries a day in the stock market, right? Across all the tickers. So you got to understand there's going to be more chances for you to make money. But the more that you get like married to a stock or married to your position and you don't want to let it go, the worse off you're going to be, because you lose 40%, now you lost 2 trades right there. You lose 80%, you lost 4 trades right there, right? And so you just want to limit the risk as far as how much you lose, because you got to understand, if you can get to the mind frame or the mindset of like there's always going to be another opportunity, you're not going to hesitate to just cut it at 20%, because you know I'll make this back in the next trade, right? Versus when you lose 40, 50, 60, your account gets decimated and you become devastated yourself, because you're like, damn, like I just lost way too much money and I did not want to lose that. And let's be real, the reason why you held that trade was because you didn't want to lose that much. But what ends up happening, we end up losing even more than we would have at 20% stop loss. Stephanie, if as far as your trail stop, I would say 20%. 20% trail is good. You could even do a 10% trail stop if you just don't want to give up too much, because you got to understand, if you're at 40%, you don't want it to go all the way back to 20% and then get cut at 20% profit. If I was at 40, I would just take profits right there, right? So it's something where ideally you maybe just 10% is good. Obviously on 0 days, those contracts going to move crazy up and down, so it's not ideal for you. But rest of the days from Monday through Wednesday, I would say a 15% trail stop is pretty good. But with that said, your trail stop should only be utilized if you're having trouble. Not if you're having trouble. You should be utilized with your runners. Ideally, you want to be taking your profits, majority of your profits, from 30 to 40%, if not at 20%. For me, guys, I start trimming at 20% right away, because once I trim like even just a quarter at 20%, like a quarter of my position, it brings me to reality. I secure a little bit of money, and by the time it reverses, I can get out of the trade. If I don't secure money, then I have mad FOMO. I'm like, damn, I should have trimmed some at 20%, so I could have made some money on this trade. So that's why I just recommend that you trim something at 20%, so you can get used to just build that habit of taking profits. Here's the thing, guys, you never go broke from taking profits. Obviously, if you take profits at 5 to 10%, it doesn't benefit you, but anything 20% or above, it's going to make you money, and it's going to give you a little cushion. If you make 20% on one trade and you lose the second trade 20%, you break even for the day, right? You haven't lost any money. So there's really no harm, no foul there. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll be continuing to do these psychology and like tips classes moving forward. If you guys have any questions, please. Oh yeah, let me answer your question, Joan. I would say it depends on how much you're willing to lose in one trade. Okay, so if let's just say you have $1,000 and you're willing to lose $50 a trade, and let's say you take 30 trades max, on your worst day you lose $150, which is 15% of your position or your account, right? That may be aggressive for some people. They may be very pissed off if they lose 15%, right? You're gonna have to find a number that works for you. But there's also some people where they can lose 50%, they don't care, right? Because it's just their small account and they can refill it the next day. So you got to find out a number that works for you. A general rule of thumb is going to be anywhere from about 1 to 3% max loss per trade of your total account balance. So let's just say that it is $1,000 and you have it at 1%. Okay. Since we use a 20% stop loss, the way that you're going to size is going to be, let's just say 1%, that's a max loss of $10, right? You're going to size by multiplying that number by 5, right? And the reason being is 20% stop loss is 1/5 of your total position size. So let's just say a $10 max loss. You're going to multiply that number by 5. It's going to take you to $50. And you're going to trade with $50 on position size for every single trade. Now, if you're a little more aggressive, it may be that you're willing to lose $100 in a trade. So you can take position sizes at 500, but you're only going to get 2 trades there. That's going to get you $1,000 total in buying power. And then should you lose both those trades, you can't make anything up because you have no more buying power left. So you want to be conscious of that as well, right? You don't want to get to a point where you blow your buying power so aggressively that you can't even make it back later in the day, right? I'm not saying that you should trade there all day, but sometimes the mornings don't work out and the afternoons are great. And so let's just say it's 3%, right? Then that means that you're willing to lose $30 per trade. And at that point, you're going to essentially multiply that number by 5. It gets you to $150. And for 3 trades, you take $150 each. Should you lose all 3 of them, you're going to lose $90 or 9% of your account. All right, and the way you position size is going to be based on what you're willing to lose on a given day. So if you're only willing to lose 10% of your account at $1,000, it's going to be $100. If you take 4 trades, that's going to be $25 each trade, right? And at that point, you take $25 max loss per trade and multiply it by 5, which is going to take you to $125 per trade position size. I know I just went over that really quickly, but did that make sense?
Yes, it made sense.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. I will be continuing these classes on a weekly basis because I do want to help you guys improve and make money. Other than that, I'm going to, this is recorded, so I'll upload this in case you guys want to watch it over or you came in late. All right, guys, you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys on Monday.
You as well. Bye.
Thank you.